Hello all, and welcome back to another edition of our projects with me, Professor Bergaker. So today we're doing analysis of one quantitative variable, part 1. So we're going to click into the assignment. You will already be in here because you've opened this video. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you open the Word document. And I would recommend that you have this open in a separate window because it's helpful to be able to use this to do the Blackboard portion and the R portion, just to have them all together. I know it's hard for you because you've got me talking in a video, you've got the Blackboard, you've got the R program, so I know, managing that is a difficult portion of it, but you can do it. I believe in you. That's what pausing is for. So this is what y'all will see. I am doing this for you right now. So if you miss something, this is why this document is a good resource, because you can go back and check it. But I am not going to be looking at that right now. I'm just going to be in the R program doing things in real time. Okay, so today I'm going to go to Shared Projects, and then Bergaker, and then Stat 215, and then remember, this is important, we check the box when we see analysis of one quantitative variable part 1. Do not open it yet, because right now you're in my folder, and today we are going to be knitting, and that means that we are going to be saving the document and uploading that saved document. You will not be able to knit if you open it from here and do all your edits in here. So we check the box and we go more and then copy to, and we go to our home file. And last week or a couple weeks ago, we made that Stat 215 folder, and we're going to save it in that Stat 215 folder. So again, one more time, when you come into R, you're going to go to Shared Projects, Bergaker, Stat 215, we check the box when we find the project we're looking for. So analysis of one quantitative variable part 1. We go more and then copy to, and then we're going to put it in our home folder, our Stat 215. So this is the file path you should see, home, Stat 215, and then save. Once you've done that, then you go back home, go back to your Stat 215, and then when you see this file path, it's safe to open the project, okay? All right, second thing, remember, one of the most important things for y'all to do is to make sure when you are running a project that you start from the top and work your way down. So change your name. So we're starting in the header. So I'm gonna put my name, today's date. Today is the day of the project, so I have no date. I would actually like you to knit as a PDF document. So I deleted the HTML and I deleted, that was in line 7, and I'm going to delete just the Word part and put PDF. You don't have to do this, what I'm doing. At the end, I'll show you that you can select a different drop-down option, but I'm going to ultimately knit as a PDF. Okay. Next, I don't have to do anything in line 9. I'm going to run line 11, not because I need it to do the rest of the project. Actually, but Twingerdinger. This is incorrect. I'm pausing. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Not a big deal. It's just I'm updating all of my stuff to this new package, GBSU 215, and it said Mosaic. That was the old package. So, all right, we don't need this yet. We'll use that when we knit, but it's the best practice for you to run each line or chunk of code from the top to the bottom. So I ran that just because I want you to be in the habit of that best practice. So now we're going to run the library. Now, when you run the library, it may be the case that a bunch of red shows up, and that's okay. If it says like what it's attaching, that just means it's a new session for you. It's telling you what it's attaching to your session. That's okay. If you see that, don't be afraid of it. It's not a bad thing when it does it with the library. Next, we're going to read in our data, and right now, because my session is actually attached to the old session, I also see GBSU, which if you remember is what we did last week. That's okay. it's available to me, even though it's not part of this project. That's okay. I do, however, though, need the dog breeds data, and so I have to run this chunk of code, which starts at line 23. Now this chunk of code, I can run the whole thing. So I can run here by clicking that green arrow or a green triangle, or remember you can use those drop down arrows and do run current chunk. The main thing is that you need to get dog breeds from your markdown window into your environment window. Once it's in the environment window, then it's accessible for you to use for the rest of the project. Okay, y'all with me? Have to do the library, have to do the data. If you don't do those two things, that's the most common places that you run into errors. All right, now we're gonna start making our output. Now, when you get to creating the output, this is a nice place for the Word document, but because we're gonna be doing it together, you won't need it as much, but I do color code where things would be going. You'll notice though today that I don't have the variable names in the Word document. However, you will notice that in the R Markdown, I do have the variable name listed. So I will be copying that variable name and pasting it where you see the word variable. This is an important best practice as well, because a lot of you will not have the attention to detail necessary to notice when you have not capitalized or spelled things exactly the same, and exactness is important when you're doing these projects. So copying and pasting is your best friend. So same when I do the data, I copy and I paste. When I do the variable name, I copy and I paste. Doing that is a foolproof way of making sure that I don't have any errors in what I type, and instead I know that it's exactly right based on what I've already given you. So I'm going to run that line. So I'm highlighting line 37. I'm not this time going to run the whole chunk because I'm not done editing all the lines of code. And if I run the chunk right now, I'll get errors for the lines that we haven't edited yet. So I'm just going to run that line. I'm going to use my shortcut keys, which on my PC is Control Enter. You can, though, remember, go up to that drop down arrow and do the options that are listed in there. When you run this, remember the output goes to the bottom of your chunk of code. So now you can see the 5-number summary for your average life expectancy, the mean standard deviation, the sample size, and then also the missing values. Now, when I ask you in this week's project for the sample size, including the missing, that means that I want you to add these last 2 cells together, but you also can just look at the number of observations that are listed over here in the environment window, and you'll notice that those 2 values would be the same. If you add the last 2 cells, that would sum to the number of observations you see in the environment window. Okay, great. So we did the first output, and now we're on to the second piece of output. Now, one thing I want to mention as we're going through this is the type of alterations that you're making to the code in these projects is the type of question that you'll be asked in the exam. So I will give you the same type of thing. I give you the data name, I give you the variable name. I'll just say, make the changes necessary to get a 5-number summary. And I give you this code, and all you need to do is make the correct changes to get that output. So exact same thing, very easy. I won't have you ever write the code. You just have to be able to replace it exactly. Okay, so down here, same changes. I need dog breeds, so I'm going to copy. I need average life expectancy, so I'm going to copy and paste. And then one thing that's important when you do the percentiles is it has to be in decimal form. So if I want the 10th percentile, I'm going to put 0.10. I don't put 10 in there. And then I'm going to run that with my shortcut keys. And again, that shows up at the bottom of your code chunk. Now, when you interpret a percentile, remember that it's at that or below. So the way that I would interpret this percentile is I would say 10% of dog breeds live to an average life expectancy of 11 years or less. That's how you interpret a percentile. So I asked you that, and I just cheated and gave you the answer for percentiles. Oh well. Okay, So then the box plot, we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to do something similar we did last week when we made a bar graph. We're going to choose the color. Now again, if you want the different color options, I give you that code up in line 26, or you can just kind of try to remember what color you liked from last week. But again, same data, so I'm still doing dog rates, I'm still doing average life expectancy, and then my color this week, let's choose purple. And again, if you do it correctly, the color will show up. So you see that it became purple, so I know I did it right. And then when I run that, I see this beautiful box plot show up. So we're good there. And then we only have one left, which is our histogram, and that's shown below. So the histogram is a little bit more work because of these breaks. So I am going to actually do this in two parts, and I'll show you why. One thing that I want to do first is I'm going to run line 37, and I want to remind you of the minimum and maximum. So the minimum is 7 and the maximum is 19. Just keep those in your mind. Now I'm going to create the histogram. So I have my data is dog rates, my variable is average life expectancy. I'll fill it by purple again, just to keep it average life expectancy. I'll just do that. Now I'm going to push that breaks code down, and I'm going to end the parenthesis here. You do not have to do this. You can watch me in the video, and then once I'm done making the alterations, you can do all of it at once. I'm going to run this line. I don't care that line 67 is giving me that red X. It doesn't matter to me right now. Oops, daisies. Because I can still get it to run. Okay, now you see this histogram, and it looks kind of yucky. Like, actually, when you think about a histogram, a lot of times people will try to define a histogram to me is that the bars touch. And this histogram, the bars don't touch. And it's because right now, R is viewing the nearest decimal as 0.5 years instead of it being collected to the nearest year. So I'm going to adjust the breaks so that this histogram looks better and they're touching each other. So that's what this break section is for. Now I usually do this after I make the histogram the first time to see if it's necessary and to see what adjustments I should make, because sometimes doing breaks with a jump of 1 is actually too small or too big. This one, it looks like 1 would be right. So I am going to remember my minimum and maximum. It was 7 and 19, I think. Oh, I think it was 7 and 19. So that's going to be my start. And I go 1 below. So I would go 6 and I would go 20, and then I'm going to jump by 1. And we're going to run that and see what that looks like. And that's much better. So you want to go always, you want to buffer. Don't ever go inside of your range. You want to go outside of your range so you're sure you include all of the data. And you can see that looks a lot better when the bars actually touch, and that's what we're looking for. So that's how I would do that. That's what the breaks are for. So you start with 1 below the minimum and then 1 above the maximum and then what you want it to jump by. For this particular histogram, 6, 20, and 1 would be the appropriate numbers respectively. Okay, I think that for the assessment, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to switch over there because I'm in my faculty mode, so you'll see all the answers. The only comment I want to make is with the 5-number summary, when you do that, make sure that you read the directions really carefully. So make sure that you're doing the numeric values on the right-hand side and the actual terminology on the left-hand side, and then you start from the maximum and work down to the minimum. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy coding. Whoops, I forgot to show you how to knit. So when you are done with all of the edits to your code, so we just finished the histogram, you don't have to scroll up to the top, but you're looking for this little ball of yarn with the knitting needle, and you can push the drop down arrow and click knit to PDF. Now, if you have a pop-up blocker, it will probably pop up and say like some error, it's trying to do it, and you just say try again. Now you can save it from here by doing the print option and do save as a PDF, or you'll notice now in your file pane, Oh, it made a liar out of me. Let's try again. Oh, it's probably in here. Here it is. In your file, excuse me, it will, the file that you're working in, it will save it in that file, so your stat215 file. So you also can check the box and then you can export it that way. And then you could download it onto your computer. So either of those two ways, either print and then save it on your computer as a PDF, or you can export it from your file pane. So then in your Blackboard, you can put it into question 9. If you could also do me the favor though of doing it in the additional content as well. So if you put it in here, but also it's just easier for me to grade if you also put it in your additional content. I know it seems kind of weird, but when you do it in this one, I don't actually have to open it when I am grading. Like, it just automatically shows up. Like, you can see that it's about to do it right here. So if you could do that for me, that would be really helpful. And then also you can review it and see if it worked correctly. The other thing I want to say before I let you go is in question 7, be gentle with the data. So if it looks approximately X, Y, or Z, make it approximate. So when you look at your histogram and it appears to have a center at approximately 13, give it that. If it appears to be approximately symmetric or approximately bell-shaped, give it that. Be gentle with it. No distribution is going to be perfect and have that perfect shape that you're expecting. Also, remember that when you're talking about outliers, you want to be specific, okay? All right, that's it. Happy coding. Let me know if you have any questions.